Hey everybody, welcome to the GARF Network, or GARF 247. I'm Eric.
I'm Matt.
And tonight we have a special 24th anniversary reunion we're going to celebrate. We've got a few guests on board in the green room right now. And I don't know, Matt, why don't you tee it up a little bit?
Well, we in the Romero world all know this movie. It is infamous, notorious, whatever you want to say. It's been a topic of conversation for almost a quarter of a century. And tonight we've gathered for a very special yeah, I know, right? We've gathered for a very special retrospective to go back to Western Pennsylvania and discuss a unofficial official sequel to Night of the Living Dead. We will be talking about Children of the Living Dead. And tonight we have some of the cast crew to come on and share their stories, because I don't think we've really had much in ways of information about this movie other than a few articles, I think, from probably 2001, and any recent articles kind of rehashed everything since then. So now we're gonna do a little bit of a deep dive and let these guys share some of their experiences about what it was like at that time for a very highly anticipated film. It was, covered in Fangoria and all the early horror news outlets online at the time before there was a social media. So I think we're in for a heck of a ride tonight. I don't think you or I are going to be talking very much. I think this is going to be one of these shows where the guests are going to be running it for us, which are the best shows out there, because they're going to share all of their tales and everything in between. And I think we're going to have a very good and informative time.
All right. So, without any further ado, let's go ahead and bring some of these folks on board. We'll start off. We have director Tor Ramsey. How you doing, sir?
All right. Great. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
Appreciate you joining us. And Matt mentioned there hadn't been really a whole lot about this as far as behind the scenes, except for an IMDb rebuttal from back in the day by yourself. That was kind of really one of the first internet blasts, of note.
I mean, they were going notes. That was with me. Probably a few too many bong hits that night that I just, I'm tired of this. I'm just gonna, get the truth out there. And I said some other things in some other places and so forth. But anyway, I guess I don't even know where to start or where you'd like me to start. And you tell me, you can ask me some questions or whatever, or I can just start going on it. I mean, what I can tell you is that I am a dedicated artist. I'm a filmmaker, and I've always had a pretty good instinct for filmmaking. And what happened on Children of the Living Dead could never happen in a million years, because you're never going to have somebody put $500,000. We had a contingency of $100,000. So we actually had $600,000 to deal with. You're never going to have somebody put that kind of money and have those kind of resources into doing something which essentially boiled down to a spoiled rich girl trying to impress her father, which is what it all boiled down to. So anyway, I mean, I don't know. Where do you want me to? You want me to start with how I came on board the thing, or?
Well, yeah. I mean, I'd like to know how you first got the phone call, but also, I mean, I think it's important to note that this was 2000, 2001, and this was a period of time where fans of George Romero, we didn't know if we were ever going to get that fourth film, and there really wasn't. Walking Dead hadn't happened yet.
That's right.
But there was kind of a resurgence. There was something building, which I think did ultimately did result in the
I think that there was this big buzz, because not too long after was when 28 Days Later came out. And then, following that was when there became a resurgence, and when they kind of reinvented, zombies, because it was not too long after that the remake of Dawn of the Dead came out, and it was like, hey, these guys can run. They're not like this, kind of thing. And so there was this buzz. It was prime time for it to happen. And I first brought up the concept that maybe we can have these guys run a little bit. And they said, no, zombies can't run. They get you with numbers. So it's like, okay, that's what we're going to do. What happened was I was acquaintances with a guy by the name of Bob Pringle. Bob was a producer who had produced the entire Howling series. He produced Lawnmower Man 1 and 2. I was in LA at the time, and that's how I knew him. And he had been at Joe Wolf's office. Joe Wolf was sold to me as he said he released Halloween, and he was the executive producer of Halloween 2 and 3, and also Nightmare on Elm Street. And so, and so he said that, and what Pringle told me was, he said that he had been over at the office, and he said, been over there at their office, and he said they were interviewing directors for a sequel to Night of the Living Dead being produced by the original co-writer, John Russo. And he said, stop interviewing directors. I've got your guy. Because he had seen my first film, which I had done in 35 mils, called Urban Mythology. He had seen that, and he loved it, and he loved the production value, and he could not believe that I got the production value out of it that I did, which, by the way, it's no secret thing here. The way you get great production value is you hire a great DP. That's a director of photography, your cinematography, and that's how you get great, production value. And so, so I went in to interview, and immediately after the meeting, Pringle began asking me, "Are you sure you want this job?" He said, "They're going to give you the rewrite job." And he said, "And I think they're going to give you the directing job." He said, "Are you sure you want it?" Because he saw that Joe Wolf is a big bully kind of a guy. He's kind of like a Donald Trump kind of guy. I don't want to get political here and stuff, but he was a big hulking guy, kind of like Paul Sorvino in Goodfellas. Okay. And he was physically disabled as well. And he moved slow, but he had this low growl of a voice, and he had an incredibly hot temper and a huge ego. You could tell just by talking to him and stuff. And so then he had his daughter, Karen. Karen was like the secretary at the office. Now you walk into the office there, and they have like all the Halloween paraphernalia everywhere. Very quickly, if I can explain this quickly, about Joe's involvement with Halloween. He claimed he produced Halloween. He claimed he had a script, and he hired John Carpenter. That's not actually what happened. What actually happened was he was the entertainment attorney for Irwin Yablans. Irwin Yablans was the producer of Halloween, had produced Assault on Precinct 13, John Carpenter's first film. And Irwin Yablans came up with an idea called The Babysitter Murders, which he pitched on John Carpenter. John Carpenter got Deborah Hill, who was his script supervisor on Assault on Precinct 13. And the two of those guys got together, and they wrote the script for Halloween. And so that's what happened. Joe was just the lawyer. And what happened was, when Halloween got finished, they didn't have any way to distribute it. So Joe called in a credit line with, I'm wanting to say it was Paramount Studios, and he had them make up a bunch of prints, and he was going to release Halloween. And that's what he did. The first city he released it in was Kansas City. And that was all he needed to do, because it went nuts in Kansas City, and they got distribution right after that. So that was his involvement. That was Joe's involvement with Halloween, that he just financed the quasi-release for it, okay? But I heard Halloween constantly. We're doing a movie like Halloween. We're doing a movie like Halloween. That's all I heard the whole time from the moment I walked in there. Now, his daughter, Karen, had never written a screenplay before. She'd taken a screenwriting class, and she had this shrill kind of voice and this high-pitched voice, and she was the kind of person who, if you're talking, you could get 3 words out of your mouth, and then she interrupts you because she's already got her thought in, okay? And so that was kind of what happened. Excuse me, my cell phone's going off. That was sort of the beginning of the relationship there. So we get out of there, and Pringle and I walk down the street. We go to the Hustler Coffee Shop, and he goes, "Are you sure you want this job?" And I'm like, I'm 32 years old. I'm like, yeah, of course. I just moved out to LA. I'd done some directing in LA, but I want this job. So I took it, and friends of mine were like, "Hey, you got to take this thing under any and all circumstances." So they give me 2 scripts, one written by John Russo called Spawn of the Dead, another written by Karen Wolf called Children of the Living Dead. I looked at John Russo's script, and I said, this thing's bad. this is bad. But I could probably rewrite every line of dialogue and do this and do this. And at that point in time, I had read several of John Russo's books on movie making. And he was actually, even though I never met him, he was kind of a mentor because I had followed those books when I was, a fledgling filmmaker and stuff. So I had a lot of respect for him and stuff. It's just like, gosh, this stuff was awful. The script was, okay. But I felt like I could do something with it. Karen's script, on the other hand, didn't even deserve to be called a script. It went here, it went there. It had dialogue that Ed Wood on his worst day would not have written. I mean, it was just, I had friends of mine. I had a guy that I wanted to bring on board as DP. He read it. He was sick to his stomach by the time he got through reading it, not because of the violence, but because it was so bad. How often do you have something so bad that it makes you want to throw up? Well, Karen pulled it off with this god-awful piece of garbage script. But I'm 32 years old, and I did something that I regret to this day, and that is I called him up and she said, all right, Tor, what do you think about John Russo's script? And I said, it's bad. She goes, see, Dad, I told you. I did not state my opinion about her script. And based on the fact that as a moment of silence, you know what? They said, okay, we need you to do a rewrite job on Karen's script. So that's what I did. I did a rewrite job on Karen's script. And I added a B story. And again, I'm trying not to take up too much time, guys. But what I did was in my rewrite job, I had a B story, which was kind of like the X-Files. It was about a internet conspiracy theorist and a tabloid news reporter who go to investigate this zombie outbreak in Pennsylvania. So all of Karen's nonsense garbage took place in the background, and these guys were sort of investigating that, okay? And I thought it was something that worked. And Karen absolutely went nuts when I turned it in. She said,
you're not supposed to be writing your own story. You're supposed to be doing a polished job. And I don't really think that it needed a polished job, but Dad did. And so,
okay. And so anyway, so I said, okay, I'll start over. So I start over. So I rewrite every line of dialogue in her script, and I fill in all the plot holes that I can. And when the other guys get on board, I'll talk about how I filled in those plot holes. All right, so I did that. I come back. I get called in for a meeting to discuss the rewrite job. I go in there and I get fired from the rewrite job. But in that same meeting, I get fired from the rewrite job and I get hired to direct the picture. Because in Hollywood, you fail upwards. Okay, and that's what happened. Okay. No, Tor, your writing sucks, but we want you to direct the goddamn thing. Okay. And so that's that. And so that's what happened. And so, from there, the rest is, is history. Well, anyway, and now we get to the good part. So, so now I go out to Pittsburgh. Now, I want to say this much. I have to say this much about John Russo. I go out there to meet John Russo, and what I was told was this is a political hot boiler of the situation because John Russo was not allowed to direct the film, whatever the film they were going to do. He was not allowed to because here's what happened. All right, and the background on this is this. George Lucas redid all the Star Wars movies in 1997. He added the CGI stuff, and he basically slaughtered them, in my opinion. But anyway, he did all that stuff. And he did it because he was trying to re-energize the Star Wars fan base and also set him up because he had these sequels, the prequels that were coming up, okay? Now, I don't know if John Russo saw that or not, but he came up with the idea to do the same thing with Night of the Living Dead, that he took Night of the Living Dead and he took the original negative and remastered it, which was good because it's very, very clean negative. And then he added new scenes. That's the thing. And Scott Kirschenbaum is going to join us in just a second. He was actually an actor in those scenes. So he added new scenes into a movie that was 30 years old, a black and white movie. And so he added it. He took out a few other scenes. Now, some of the scenes he added into the Night of the Living Dead 30, like some of the new zombie stuff is passable and stuff. But he added in like this bald-headed preacher named Vlad. And he added to this storyline with this bald-headed preacher and also Debbie Rochon, who was a softcore porn model, is my understanding. John Russo did this magazine called Scream Queens, and so she was in that, like half naked, posing on coffins and whatnot. I mean, I don't know the whole history behind it, but anyway, so then the reaction on the internet was, I mean, I think Harry Knowles from Ain't It Cool News said that this is what he said, quote unquote, he said John Russo should be shot in the head and dumped on a pile of burning zombies. Okay, because the reaction to the Night of the Living Dead 30 was not good, and my understanding is that's why he was not allowed to direct this new thing and stuff. So they brought me in because I think they felt like my personality, I could get along with people. And so they bring me into Pittsburgh. Now, Pittsburgh is a very small, it's not a small town, but it kind of has a small town mentality. They only want to do like Pittsburgh, things. And so, or Pittsburgh people and stuff. And so they felt like I could withstand the storm. And so they brought me in there. Now, I want to say this about John Russo. John Russo has caught a lot of hell about this movie and about a lot of other movies and stuff. John Russo is a top-notch guy as a person. Okay, I want to make sure you understand that. He is a great father to Janie, his daughter. He's a great husband. I haven't seen him in years, but I'm sure it's still true. He's a military guy, ex-military. Very proud of that, and he should be. He used to hang out at this place, the American Legion Bar, and I used to go there and hang out with him and the other veterans. And he's a very good man. But there's no question that he and I did not see eye to eye about production, because he did not want to have any ADs. He did not want to have a script supervisor, didn't want to have a makeup department, didn't want to have a wardrobe department. It was just like shooting with a very minuscule crew, and he wanted to use all the same people that had done Night of the Living Dead 30 and who had also done, he did a movie called Santa Claus, SantaClaws, Santa Claus. Okay, that was also a piece of garbage. And so anyway, using all those same people, and he wanted to kind of, control production and whatnot. And that's where we did not see eye to eye on. But you talk to him about story and about script, he seems like he knows what he's talking about. It didn't translate always with some of his low budget, horror films that he did, but he does, seem like it was. And what happened on Children of the Dead was not his fault. He did the best he could with the position he was relegated into. And so that brings me into coming out to Pittsburgh, and now come the auditions. The first audition tapes that I got of the cast were the same people that were in Night of the Living Dead 30. All right. And then after that, I was looking at the auditions that he gave me, and there were some old guys that came up, and I'm like, what? That guy looks kind of familiar. I realized it was people from the original cast of the original Night of the Living Dead. Carl Hardiman was auditioning to play a 30-year-old, and Russell Streiner was in there and stuff. And I'm just okay. So we wiped that out. We're not going to do any more auditions. And so we came out to do auditions. I wanted to do it as a SAG project, and actually Russo, I found out later, he actually wanted to do it as a SAG project too. He just wanted to use all Pittsburgh SAG actors, but Joe didn't want to do that. And that's one thing I found out, is that there is a culture of producers in LA for which quality has nothing to do with what their goals are in terms of, making a living. They just need product. They're like, they're selling shoes. Okay. And so, we get out to Pittsburgh. So do you guys want to bring in our other cast members here?
Yeah, we'll start off with, let's go ahead and bring on Marty and Tom. They were a big part of the beginning sequence here. So
yeah.
Let's bring on Marty Schiff.
I got to tell you about meeting Tom for the first time. If he's here, is he here?
Yeah, here he comes.
He's got,
Okay.
There he is.
Okay. I got to tell you about meeting Tom Savini for the first time. First of all, I knew Tom as an effects guy, and that Tom, you're going to kill me. I did not know him as an actor. And so when Heinzman and Russo first said, "Oh, we can get Tom Savini," I was like, "The effects guy?" And they said, "Yeah, exactly." I said, "What's he acting?" And he said, "From Dusk Till Dawn." I was like, "Who?" And he said, "Sex Machine." I was like, "Oh, I know that guy." I was like, "You're kidding me. We can get that guy." I was like, and so that was really awesome and stuff. And so anyway, and I'm like, maybe this thing does have some hope. So Tom and Karen and I meet for lunch at this restaurant. And Tom has not read the script yet. And we're talking and stuff. And Tom is like an encyclopedia of cinema. I mean, he knows movie history very, very well and stuff. And he and I, his favorite Zorro movie is the one with Tyrone Power and Basil Rathbone. My favorite is the one with Elaine Dion, the Spaghetti Western, 1975. But the cool thing about Tom was when I would tell him about stuff like that, he would go out and he would buy that version, of that movie and stuff, which he did and stuff. And then we would, talk about it and stuff. But anyway, here's the first time Tom and I were talking. We go out for lunch and we're talking. And as we're walking out of the thing, I say to him, okay, why don't you disregard the first few pages of the script? I want to change your character. I want to make him the John Wayne of zombie killers. And Tom freezes in his tracks, and I turn around and look, and he's got this shit-eating grin on his face, and he goes, the John Wayne of zombie killers? I said, yeah. And he said, I can do that. And so the first location scout we had, Tom comes out there, and he's got the John Wayne lever action rifle from True Grit, okay, that he had. And he comes out and he brings the bullwhip from Dusk Till Dawn, and he's got all these weapons and stuff. And I'm like, I'm in heaven, man. I'm like, my God, we can save this motherfucker after all. And then then Heinzman starts to chime in. Bill Heinzman does, and he says, okay, the second you pull out that Winchester rifle, it's going to be like a Rambo action movie. What are we making here? A zombie movie or a Rambo action movie? And I'm like, I'm trying to make a watchable fucking movie, okay? I mean, come on, And so anyway, and so then Tom and I started coming up with ideas to like we could do this, but we got to run interference on Karen and stuff. Now Marty and I were doing the same thing as far as running interference once production started, but it was a little bit different. Marty and I we're camping it up a little bit. Like, for example, there's a scene that got cut out by Karen later on where Marty, as Sheriff Randolph, is looking at the camera doing a Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver, and he's like, you're going to eat me? What? You're going to eat my flesh? Well, I don't see anybody else here. Marty, you remember doing that? You remember doing that? You don't remember doing
that? Tor, I cannot remember.
Huh?
Do you remember Marty had this tattoo on his face?
Oh my God! Okay.
There was a different place every day, and nobody knew it. Karen didn't know it. Do you remember? Karen was constantly screaming at Jack, "Shut up, Jack!" Because his ideas were, what if the zombies shot rays out of their eyes? It was like Karen, "Shut up, Jack!" It was always "Shut up, Jack." Now, do you remember that Marty and I sent Karen out to look for chickens because we thought it would be scary if a door opened and the chicken flew out. Mm-hmm. We did that just to get rid of her so we could shoot the barn sequence, which was the action-packed, most realistic scene in the whole fucking movie. Okay,
right.
But we sent her out for a chicken. She thought she was Shakespeare, that every word had to be said, the way she wrote it. And Marty and I didn't do that. Marty and I were improvising all over the place.
Well, now the interesting thing is this. I didn't know until I started doing this thing that Marty and Tom had actually collaborated. This is like the fifth film they collaborated on. And I think you guys have done a lot of theater together as well, right?
We never did any theater together, but we had done Creepshow, Night Riders, Dawn of the Dead. We had done a lot. Yeah. I think Dawn of the Dead was where you guys first met. Am I right? Yeah. Marty was my stunt pad. I got hit by a truck. I didn't know Marty.
That was how we met.
But I walked up to him and said, "Hey, are you going to be standing right here? Because this truck's going to hit me. I'm hitting a trampoline and flying backwards. I need to hit something to soften my fall." Marty was what softened my fall.
Oh, okay.
But let's go back.
That's actually the name of my autobiography, Savini Stuntman.
Yes. But listen, I've been sitting here listening to you talk about Jack Russo and all this. And, Jack, I just saw a post that Kane Hodder, a bunch of, like Bill Moseley, if you went to a horror convention, the people that will be sitting against the wall are all in Jack Russo's Spawn of the Dead.
Really?
Yes.
You're kidding.
Well, it's never going to happen, of course. But
Okay. Okay.
But he obviously just went to a convention and asked people if they would be interested in. But you said he was talking about Spawn of the Dead back then, according to what you were saying.
I was given a script called Spawn of the Dead. I don't remember one thing about it, but I was given a script called Spawn of the Dead. But apparently there was another script he wrote called Children of the Dead that had like pregnant zombie mothers giving birth to zombie kids or something.
Listen, please. Any conversation about Jack Russo is me wasting my life.
Okay.
Jack Russo is an incompetent, untalented weasel who keeps taking credit for other people's work. The latest post from him is that he wrote Night of the Living Dead. Not a mention about George. He wrote Night of the Living Dead.
Well, I have to be honest with you. All those guys tried to take credit for it, Heinzman claimed, he said, yeah, we all had those ideas, but George Romero did. And that was the interesting thing about Night of the Living Dead was that they did not get the legal stuff done. So it wound up in public domain. So I don't think they made any money on it.
They did not. They didn't.
Yeah.
But
I think they said, okay, we're all going to have, we'll all do sequels together and stuff. But at some point in time, Romero parted ways from him, and he went off and did Dawn of the Dead, which, by the way, is one of the greatest horror movies of the 20th century, in my opinion. And he goes off and does Dawn of the Dead, and then I think they sued him or something. And then he said, no, Dawn of the Dead is not a sequel to Night of the Living Dead. It's its own thing.
Well, Jack Russo wound up owning the words Living Dead. You can't use Living Dead because for some reason he owns that. But God, I keep forgetting something very important that I was going to say. Russo. Oh, it's interesting that George, after Night of the Living Dead, never worked again with any of those people. Jack Russo, so clearly the talent was with George.
Yeah.
And he knew that these guys were idiots, hacks.
Yeah. Now I got Marty on the line. Marty had a great idea. It'll never happen, obviously, for a sequel to Night Riders.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, Marty, you want to tell us that? How would that open up with Ed Harris?
Well, no, Ed was dead because he was killed in the original Night Riders.
Oh, was
but
it?
Basically, it's Tom as Morgan getting all the knights back together because Bontempi, if you remember him from the first movie, was the promoter, has turned it into a studio wrestling event, a sort of a big wheel truck kind of event where he goes into stadiums and does the jousting, does the whole thing. And he has fake townies come in and fight the knights. And Tom's idea was to get us all back together, train us, and then we go into the stadium and do the fight for real. And we're all old and we're all, we're hobbling around from multiple.
Well, speak for yourself. I can still fit in my armor.
Yeah.
Well, but that was the sequel to Night Riders. Basically, just getting the band back together again to fight one more time.
And there's a bunch of us still around. Gary Laudy, Adam, what's your face? Amy Ingersoll, Albert Emerson,
John Harrison.
There's a bunch of us still around.
Tasso.
Yeah.
But
Ken
we're all
Foray.
way too old now. So, but anyways, that was 20 years ago.
But Tor, I remember on the set you had this great idea for a shot involving mirrors that would somehow. I remember you talking about this, and Heinzman thought it was the craziest, stupidest piece of shit ever. Because he's not a director, he didn't understand what you were trying to do, And you were constantly getting shit from him.
Well, we were discussing that earlier.
I heard it. Yeah.
That Bill was coming from, I guess, the old Night of the Living Dead thing, where he was trying to do something from 1969 or whatever and stuff. And so now the mirror thing, I don't remember. I do remember one idea I had, though, was going to be that you take a shotgun and you pummel it into the head of a zombie and you pick it up like this and you shoot another zombie and it pops out the back of the head. Now, one of the gags that you did, this was actually kind of sick. but it was actually really cool on film. But the inspiration was kind of sick. I remember watching Schindler's List, and they had these Nazis that would shoot the Jews, like they would line up the Jews and shoot them through the head to see how many they could shoot, how far.
Yeah.
And so I used that in you know the scene I'm talking about. I had two zombies coming at you, and you kicked one in front of the other, and you shot one, and the bullet went through one, and the squib popped out of the back.
Right,
of the
right,
The
right.
funny thing was Jerry Gergely, who's an extraordinarily talented pyro guy. Oh, now that was another thing. Russo told me we could not do pyrotechnics. We couldn't use squibs because of the fact that we would lose. We could not show that in Germany or certain territories. And I was like, well, that's ridiculous. It's a zombie.
He's full of shit.
Yeah. Okay. So anyway, but then here comes Jerry Gergely. Now, initially, he wanted Jerry Gergely, who's a Pittsburgh guy, to come on board to work with Vinny Guastini, who was the effects guy. And I said, all right, I don't think Vinny's going to do that stuff. He goes, well, Vinny's already got his crew set up and stuff. And he said, well, what about pyro? We could do pyro. He said he could blow up cars. And I was like, oh, he can blow up cars. Oh, cool. And so, you know.
Well,
so
Jerry has a federal explosives license.
Yeah, exactly. So he could do squibs and everything like that. And Jerry also has got. He was just coming off of Babylon 5 that he got nominated for an Emmy for, and he's got this low key personality that he's the kind of guy you want to handle explosives because he's just kind of key.
He's been the lead instructor at my school for 26 years now.
Yeah. No, Jerry was going. He taught me a few tricks there that I haven't been able to use them since then. But he was like saying that, like, for example, when you're going to blow up a car, I guess paint the seats with
Rubber cement.
Yeah, rubber cement and stuff. And that's the thing, guys. I got to tell you about, like, Savini. Savini knows these damn tricks that are just so interesting. And I'm going to tell you one in just a second. But I need to ask him again because I've forgotten. Tell me, Savini, how did you do the in Dawn of the Dead when the guy sticks the sticks the screwdriver in the zombie's ear? Isn't that?
Yeah.
John Harrison.
Huh? How'd you do that?
It was John Harrison's death.
That was on John Harrison. Now, the whole reason for that death is to cover a continuity error. Scott or somebody lost a sweater, and we had to show how he got rid of it. So George had a zombie, John Harrison, grab him and tear the sweater off. So I had to come up with a kill. And I said to George, how about if we, stick a screwdriver in his ear? He said, yeah, okay. So I just took a soda straw, painted it silver, and built a retractable screwdriver. Okay. And the same silver straw had holes in it for me to shoot blood through it. So it'll come out of John's ear, on cue.
Okay.
But that was something we invented right then and there, and built it quickly.
Well, okay. So let me bring up how Karen, because we got to get into post-production, which is where the real slaughtering actually took place. But this is how Karen could totally fuck up a really great scene. We had this scene. It's the scene in the movie where we blow up the car, and I came up, and it was not in the original script, and it's where Savini gets attacked by these zombies, by a zombie, and he does this great little gag where he does a somersault over, and he shoots two more zombies, and then he sees a girl. Now, in the movie, you don't see this. Now, what it was we cast Tom's daughter, Leia, and she was like around 13 or 14 or something like that, I think. And so she's coming limping. She's injured. And so when he sees her, it's not in the movie, but when he sees the girl, that's when he's out of bullets. He's only got one thing, and it's a one-shot deal. And so that's what motivates him to, roll the car in, to put two zombies in the car, roll it, and to distract those people. And so to distract the zombies from going after the young girl and stuff. And so anyway, that was never in the movie because Leia, being 13 or 14 years old, was a little sassy to Karen a couple of times. And so Karen didn't like her. So Karen just cut her out of the movie. Okay.
Well, but that's what she did to me.
And so you totally robbed the fucking scene of all emotion, of all meaning, of anything. Why is he rolling a damn car like that? I mean, that's stupid. Okay.
Listen, I was staging the fight between me and Greg Guerrero, the zombie. I was staging the fight, and she came in to do some costume thing, and I yelled at her, "Not now, wait till we're done." Blah blah blah.
I remember that.
And from that
remember
second on, she couldn't wait for me to be killed in the movie.
I remember that. I don't remember you yelling as much as you lectured. You turned around and you said, "Okay, so when I'm trying to choreograph a scene, I don't need to be interrupted with wardrobe and costume things. That can be done later. Leave me alone." You were actually pretty polite.
Okay.
You were very assertive about it. Anyway, so she didn't like that. So she gets rid, and then there was another scene with Leia that she also cut out, which is when you're walking through the thing, and then you see a couple of zombies coming at you, and you hold her off and stuff. And once again, the scene is robbed of any kind of emotional attachment or anything, because she just didn't want Leia for some reason to be in the damn movie.
Right.
And that was a typical thing. But anyway, I bring this up because this is another Tom Savini trick that I remember Leah telling me that the only thing she has to do is to be walking across the field limping. And so she asked her dad, she said, "How do I do that? How do I act like I'm limping?" And he said, very simply, "Put a rock in your shoe." Okay. I just thought this
only because I know that Dennis Weaver put a rock in his shoe to play in Gunsmoke. What was the name of his character?
Oh, really? Oh, really?
Yeah.
Is that how he had it?
And Walter Brennan put a rock in his shoe on the show he did, The Real McCoys.
Oh, really?
Because he had to limp. So they were real limps because the stone was hurting their feet,
Okay, this is what I'm saying, guys. Tom is a absolute cinephile and encyclopedia of cinephile. No, I remember him getting, I told Tom's a big Buster Keaton fan, and so am I. And I told him, "You got to get Sherlock Jr. That's my favorite." And he said, "Oh, I never seen that." And then the next time he was on set, he said, "Hey, I got Sherlock Jr. The flip side was Our Hospitality." And he started talking about all the gags and all that kind of stuff. But Tom used to come by my hotel room to pick up dailies because he wanted to make copies for his reel and so forth. But he was a big supporting factor at coming by and just saying, "Dude, how are you surviving this? How are you getting through this?" And he was just like, "Look, you're doing a great job. You're doing a great job." Marty was the same way, but just a little bit differently. Marty would come by. Marty was actually a mentor to my actress, Jamie McCoy, who played the lead. He was really nervous, with Karen and so forth. And he would, anyway, Marty was really good in sort of befriending her and helping her with her neurosis. I got to tell you guys about the most blatant act of incompetence ever performed on a movie set. And I don't know where Scott is. What happened to Scott?
Here, let's go ahead and bring Scott Kirschbaumer in here. Let's There you are. Hey, Scott.
Okay, all right. This is okay. So I have to bring this in, and Scott, I thought you might have disappeared.
You're talking about the scratch test?
We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. Here's what happened. We got the dailies in every year. We're shooting in 35 millimeter film. We get the dailies in every day on VHS for me to take a look at. I pick them up from the lab and go home and take a look at them. So what I wanted was, because Karen's piece of garbage script was so bad, what I said was, my strategy was this. I said, okay, let me do whatever I want to do with the opening 5 pages, which was the whole zombie battle scene, and let me do it on the first few days of production. And they said, okay, because my strategy was, okay, once they see what I can do, they'll just turn me loose. That was what my hope was, okay? So what happened was, on those first few days, when I get the dailies back, which would have been on a Monday because we shot that on a weekend, they look great. And I'm like, wow, we're making a real movie here. And I showed them to Vinny Guastini, and he said the same thing. And then what happened is, there's 5 camera rolls that are missing. And I'm like, what's going on with that? I was like, okay, I just didn't get to it. The next morning, I called the lab, and I'm like, yeah, what happened to those 5? We're missing 5 camera rolls. They said, yeah, those are the ones that didn't come out. And I said, what do you mean they didn't come out?
The film was loaded backwards.
Yeah.
Yes, that's ultimately.
I thought the film was loaded backwards on Helicopter Day when we had the helicopter.
It was on Helicopter Day.
Yes.
It,
Oh,
it,
what?
it was on
Yeah.
helicopter day, and that was loaded backwards, but nobody did a scratch test beforehand, which you're supposed to do when you load it in. And
Okay,
yeah.
but here's the thing, though. The it's emulsion side in, okay, and one
it's
side
a different color.
dark.
Yes.
Okay, one side
The,
dark.
the
It looks different.
sprocket
It feels
holes.
different.
The fucking sprocket holes.
Yeah.
Let me explain to you how stupid this was. It takes 3 people to do this. It takes a loader who loads the film in. The loader loads the film in. You guys are having a big time. Loader loads the film into the magazine. That's the big Mickey Mouse ears, okay? And he leaves a little loop outside, okay? And so one side is dark and one side's light, okay? Now the loader hands it to the second AC, Heidi Heinzman. The loader's name was Chris Heinzman. The second AC was Heidi Heinzman, okay?
Yes. The camera department is named Heinzman.
Yes, okay. And so now she takes it to the first AC. I don't know what his name is, but he's the guy. He threads it into the camera, and they did not notice that the emulsion side, dark on one side, light on the other, was being put in randomly at different things. So the helicopter day was gone. And here's the payoff on it. They tried to blame me for it. What I was told was, they said, Tor, you're flying by the seat of your pants. You're going too fast. You're pushing people, and everything else like that. So I wound up fighting for my job. Now,
I think I took the bullet for you on that one, Tor. I think I'm the one that got smacked on that one.
Did you? I can't. Well, okay, yeah, Scott. Here's how great the production plan was. Scott was sound and AD. He was supposed to be sound and AD.
And UPM, sort of. I was a UPM, AD, and sound.
Yeah. Now, guys, we had $500,000. We had $500,000, and we had $100,000 contingency. So we had $600,000. Now I understand sometimes you cut corners when you don't have any money. We had plenty of money to have a full crew, I mean, a small crew, 20, 25 people with everybody doing everything. Okay. I mean, this was absolutely positively, inexcusable. But what happened was, we bring in an AD, a guy by the name of Angelo Satirianis. And you guys, Tom and Marty, you guys don't even know what a thorn that guy was in my side. He didn't know.
I don't remember that guy.
Yeah. No, he didn't know what an AD did. He didn't know what a call.
Angelo's big thing, as he told me when he got there, his claim to fame was as a seat filler at the Oscars and the Emmys and stuff like that. Was his main thing.
Oh, totally qualified. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't even have that on my resume.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah, I'm faced with the fact that my camera crew has just created the biggest act of incompetence I've ever heard of. And I don't have the power. I mean, and now I'm fighting for my job. I don't have the power to fire anybody. I don't have the power to. Oh, and Scott, I got to tell you this. One, Scott. This is another complete. Oh God, you got to hear this. Okay. What happened was, when that happened, Karen said, "Okay, we're gonna hire a full crew now. We're gonna have a script supervisor, going to do this, do that." And so I said, "Okay, move Scott to first AD, because in my conversations with Scott, you actually talk like a first AD. When we went over the strip board, you said, how about we move this here? That way we can wrap out that person earlier the day."
Seems logical. I mean, it's all logistics.
Right. Okay. So she said no, and she said no. He's just going to do sound. We're going to hire another AD. And here's why. They had hired, first of all, Wolf made millions of dollars, apparently, on merchandising Halloween. Michael Myers dolls, Michael Myers masks, Michael Myers novels, and all that kind of stuff. They hired a merchandising company to do the same thing with Children of the Living Dead. They had meetings to do Abbott Hayes dolls. They were going to do cemetery play sets. And here's the big one. They were going to be manufacturing and merchandising. Swear to God, I'm not making this up. They're going to be merchandising the trucks that the posses were driving. Okay? They're going to take over Tonka and Fisher Price. Okay, and so they had to have those trucks in the movie. So she told me, no, I told Scott to go find a bunch of people with trucks that we could use on helicopter weekend, and he didn't find any. He doesn't know what the fuck he's doing, so he's not going to be our AD.
I had some trucks. She didn't tell me I had fire trucks. I mean, we actually had really good. I got the helicopter for her. The really cool scene was we followed that helicopter in and followed the fire trucks over some cool stuff coming in of the footage that never got past the emulsion test. But you know,
Chris, what is this sign you have in front of you?
I guess it's backwards. It just says that any opinions expressed on this program are not those of the GARF network. They are strictly those of the participants therein,
And you felt that was necessary.
in case somebody could be watching and get upset. You know.
Okay.
Are people watching?
I hope so.
Yes.
Are
People
there
are
fans?
watching.
Are they going to call in with questions?
I think
Are they gonna
Macy.
call
Well,
with questions?
I mean, friend of the show,
Macy's
John
watching.
Bullis says this is great.
Macy played young. What was the character's name? What was
That's your daughter, right?
my daughter? Yeah, she was 10.
Yeah. She played the young Laura.
She was young Lori at the age of 10. I would probably be arrested for child abuse by putting her in that movie at the age of 10 years old. But she did a great job. Macy was one of the greatest 10-year-olds.
I tried to do my best with this because the helicopter pilot was a friend of mine, and we set her up with Karen. He actually he ended up dating Karen for a little while, so we tried to pull Karen out of being around all the time.
Dan, was it?
Yes, it is Chopper Dan.
Chopper Dan.
Yes.
Okay, I remember Karen did not show up one day on set for like about 5 or 6 hours, and Scott, you said, "Hey guys, you can thank me for it," because you hooked him up. Now, what is Chopper Dan's deal that he had to wind up with somebody like Karen?
He's like a local sort of hotshot pilot. He was the one of the few pilots who knew how to fly a West Cam in town. So they would always
listen, hang on a second. I remember Savini after that thing where I said I'm going to make it a John Wayne of Zombie Slayer stuff. He called me, I think that night or the next day or something like that, and he goes, "Are you alone?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "This is the shittiest script I've ever read." All right, and I was like in a panic because I've got to figure out some damn way to keep Savini on now. And I talked him into it. Savini, you can.
Yeah, you killed him in the first 10 minutes. That's the way you keep him on.
Okay, well, let me tell you
that
what
was Karen's idea.
Well, let me tell you what happened. When the dailies go back to Joe, and first of all, I was doing some maneuvers that Bill Heinzman at 64 years old just couldn't do. When Tom had that like lever action rifle, I wanted to have him go chick, chick, boom, and then whip pan, snap zoom, whip pan, snap zoom. And it was just, and so we had a bunch of that kind of stuff. And so that's the first time I got in trouble because they said I'm giving Tom Savini too much film time. They're like, this is about Abbott Hayes, that's Joe Wolf. This is about Abbott Hayes, so what's this Savini guy? And Joe Wolf never heard of you, Tom. He didn't know anything about Tom Savini until he started dealing with distributors. Okay, so I got in hot water for giving Tom Savini too much screen time, and then he starts dealing with distributors, and then he says, "I had no idea this guy Savini was such a drawing card. Why didn't we cast him in a bigger role?" And all that kind of thing. So anyway. I will say this. Let me say this one. I got to give Heinzman credit. Heinzman and I did become friends, and he did give me a huge. Once when production was over with, went over to his house, cooked out, and drank a few beers, and we're watching dailies and stuff. And he watched a few of the gags that we were doing from the cafe stuff, the diner stuff. And he said, "Tor," I swear to God, he said this, never forget it. He said, "Tor," he said, "if you'd been left alone with your ideas, this thing could have been another Return of the Living Dead." And that's exactly what he said. So,
but he's the guy that wouldn't leave you alone.
He came over.
Bill and I were partners for a long time on many things. Bill was for lack of no pun intended, a creature of habit, and just never got out of doing what he did. So but Bill, awesome guy.
I think Bill's a great guy, but I had seen Flesh Eater and Santa Claus, and I wanted. I mean, I think any director you're allowed to bring on board your own DP, and I was not allowed to bring on board my own DP, and I was not allowed to once the whole emulsion thing happened, I was not allowed to bring it on. And at that point, I realized I have no control over anything. But honestly, I think I could have dealt with Bill and with Russo, but Karen was insurmountable. It's all about the script. It's if it ain't on the page, it ain't on the stage, you know. And with Karen yelling "cut," there was a point in time, and Tom, this was after you were, off or whatever. So there was a point in time where I actually had to call her dad and I said, "You're going to have to put a leash on your daughter because I can't take this shit any longer." All right, she's yelling "cut" in this shrill little voice every time.
Yeah, I remember her doing that.
Yeah, and I actually, and Bill told me. Bill said, "Tor, make the phone call and we'll back you up," and he did. And so, and I certainly appreciate Bill doing that. But yeah, Tom, when we were on board. Oh, and I remember another time, Tom, when we were doing the stuff in the barn, and there was that little rope that came down through the loft and stuff, and he said, "Okay, Tor, maybe we could have Tom do one of his acrobatic moves up and stuff like that." And then I was like, "Hey, Tom, you notice how Bill was like saying, 'Oh, this is going to be a Rambo action movie.' Now it's like saying, 'Hey, we can get Tom to do this and Tom to do that and stuff.'" And then Bill just kind of looked over. He said, "Hey, if you can't beat him, join him." Go ahead, Tom. Savini, go ahead. What's the matter? You got a cynical look on your face.
No, I'm reacting to what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I wound up running up a wall and flipping backwards over a zombie, and then turning around and shooting him.
Yeah,
it was my idea. But
well, left to your own devices, the choreography is always very colorful.
Yeah.
Running.
But we had to get Karen looking for chickens to be able to.
We sent her out for chickens. Yep.
Well, that was my second day on set. The first day was the helicopter day, and it was a different zombie that Vinny Guastini had actually made me up himself both times. But he had fun. He was just putting this glass sticking out of my face, or broke up a cup, and I had an apron on, so I was a dirty sort of short order cooked zombie. And, and squibs, and actually somebody, Jack Russo, gave me the photographs actually a while later, beautiful 8x10s, that somebody got a picture of me with the squib going off, which was great because none of the film was exposed that day.
Do you have that?
Yeah, a picture of me. Yeah,
I'd love to see that.
I'll show you. I'll send it to you. Okay. But that was the first, and also remember on helicopter day there was like a posse of local kind of bohunks and friends and relatives that were all holding guns, and the one big Rambo-looking guy walked over and just decided there was a pile of zombies laying, sort of already vanquished zombies.
I know what you're talking about.
This guy went blam from about 3 feet away, decided to shoot the pile of zombies one more time, which was not anyone told him to do that. It was not in the script. There was no cue for that. He just wanted to be a tough guy because he was on camera. And
you remember that, Scott? You remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
Guy walks up and she's got a big burn in her side. He could have killed her.
Yeah, he had big powder burn, the poor girl. And he's thinking it's like cap gun or something, I guess. That was a lot of it. Remember the helicopter day? That's an expensive day, and that's always a big day too. Because the helicopter lands. The first thing you do is have a safety meeting for an hour and tell everyone if you walk over here, you'll die.
Right.
So leave that thing alone. Let anyone go near it who's not supposed to.
When I had auditions for my Night of the Living Dead, a guy, Ron Gardner, showed up with a loaded M16. I mean, not blanks, a loaded M16.
But see, on the original night, it was George Pisana, I guess, and a couple other guys saying, here's the ammo you'll be using. Don't use anything other than this. And he just trusted them to know their shit. And of course, I guess back then people were more trustworthy with their weapons.
It's amazing nothing serious happened like that.
Yeah, that poor girl was hurt, and she got, I think, an extra couple $100 and sent home. But the guy was fired on the spot.
Yeah,
well, I mean,
that's all he got.
The gun safety, and Christ, you still hear about things with the rust thing with Baldwin and stuff.
That's a major.
It's crazy.
So people getting hurt on pictures or not getting hurt on pictures like this is always a sign of a good production. But,
well, I mean, as Gurgley is also, I'm also licensed by the state of Pennsylvania for the pyrotechnics and stuff like that, and fortunately, I've only put one person in the hospital just for a little arm thing, but that was on a different movie. But yeah, you got to take when we were doing the scene at the diner. with the homemade flamethrower thing.
Yeah.
Another crazy time with it was not it was not dialed in to the point that it should be dialed in terms of the use of squibs and gunshots and things like that.
On a normal set, if there's gunfire, the armorer comes around, shows everybody, the cast and crew, the gun is empty. The gun is empty. Closes it, gives it back to the actor. If somebody walks up to that actor and talks to him, he does the whole thing over again. He shows everybody the gun is empty, and this is what an armorer does.
Yeah.
Where was the armorer on the Rust movie with Eric, and what about when Brandon Lee was shot through a bag and the bullet severed his spine? That was an accident because they got rid of the gun handlers and handed the gun handling over to the prop department.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing. They took empty rounds out of a revolver. One of the slugs stayed in the chamber, and they put a blank behind it. They thought they were loading the gun with blanks, and that's what killed Brandon Lee. They created a powerful bullet in that chamber without knowing it because they're not gun handlers; they're prop people. Okay.
And to be fair, there are prop people who are very good gun handlers, and that does fall under their jurisdiction sometimes. But there should be a gun.
But there's
handler.
always an arm. There's always one single point of contact with any of these things.
Yeah.
That is, like Tom said, is the handoff. So there's one person that's handling it at least, and here you're the actor. You're using this. I'm holding it now. Now you're holding it, and that's the progression.
It's like the chain of evidence, the chain of command.
Correct.
Yeah. I think we had Bill's brother was our armorer, wasn't he? I think.
Another Heinzman?
Yeah.
That's too many Heinzmans.
Yeah, Bill doesn't have a brother. Not that I know of.
Who was George?
I think you're right. No, that's That's his brother-in-law. That's That's it. Right. It's not his brother. Yeah. So you're right. I forgot all about George.
But isn't that the guy that loaded the film in backwards?
No.
That was a nephew. That was a nephew.
So it was another relative. What did I tell you?
Lots of Heinzmans on Children of the Living Dead.
No, but then
there are Heinzmans everywhere in Beaver.
Oh, but Bill made the remark to me. He said, "Well, at least we don't cast our friends from New York in roles in movies." And he was pissed off because I cast Jamie, in the role and stuff. And I was just like, yes, because there was nobody else with the last name Heinzman left in Pittsburgh.
Well,
they're all here.
The whole cast of Dawn of the Dead were friends that worked in restaurants in New York. He could have been commenting on that.
Yeah.
Bill Heinzman was not allowed on my set of Night of the Living Dead because he rushed out Flesh Eaters or some piece of shit that was a copy of what George had written in the new Night of the Living Dead script. He wasn't allowed around. Yeah.
Well, the ending was a complete plagiarization of that. That's really.
I never got that far.
Okay, it's the same thing. A guy comes out of the thing, and the posse sees him, and they kill him, and it's the wrong guy. Kind of thing. But no, speaking of helicopters, I remember Savini told me he didn't want to go because of he's from Vietnam. He said, I don't want to go near any helicopters. But I had a scene that I just could not resist. Savini walks away from the helicopter. A zombie rises up, and he just pulls out his pistol and shoots him and sticks it back in. And you had to have him walking away from the helicopter. So
right.
I had to do it. So
at least I wasn't in the helicopter.
Right.
Yeah. But he was a good sport to do that. Marty, I had another one with Marty. This was another one I snuck around with Marty on that and people, unless you know 80s television, you won't get this. The line was another one of Karen's stupid garbage lines was he's sitting there talking to the posse in the diner, and he says, "All right, be careful, man, or else you'll wind up being a victim of the Walking Dead." Okay, just another stupid dialogue. Karen's completely incompetent. But anyway, so I gave Marty some direction. So he says this. See if you guys recognize this. He says, "All right, that's it. Let's roll. And hey, let's be careful out there." Hill Street Blues.
Well, you were about to talk about post-production.
Yeah.
Marty and I had the humiliation of going in to some studio
For
to do
ADR.
ADR,
Yeah.
and she made us say those lines of hers. You know, we were creating brilliance, Marty and I, improvising. You know,
Okay.
As always.
and that's
always.
gone. That's gone.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
we had a whole scene walking towards the barn that was all ad lib, and she made us ADR her dialogue that she wrote. But if you look at it, we're saying our lines that we ad libbed, and it's not matching
Yeah.
the line. It looks like
You
a
should
Japanese.
dub it over in Italian or something. So.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I have a rough cut or a work print on VHS. Was this the only version we ever saw? Was there any slightly less?
I don't know. If you've got a work print, I'd love to see it because I mean, it might be my version, you know, that I had. I would absolutely love to see that. But getting back to what they said, once I realized that Marty and Savini had you know, knew each other and stuff, and so that I don't remember what the original script had, but I just said just improvise, just start talking, and it goes back to that whole thing about dialogue. It's like if there's a bomb in the room and two characters are talking, they talk about everything except the bomb itself. Okay. And so that's the same thing with these two guys. They're just talking. We're building character here. We're building their history together. And so they have this really neat little dialogue. It's like, hey, you've been losing weight? And he goes, yeah, I've been losing weight a little bit.
Yeah,
So,
eat some rice or something.
yeah. He said, kind of like Deputy Dunkin' Donuts or something, you know, whatever it is stuff. And he's like, yeah, maybe I could be like you, you know, quit the force and become some jagoff survivalist or something. And that's when they
Survivalist jagoff. Yeah, that's what it was.
yeah. And then Karen talked, and then Karen throws in her exposition, you know, that she has to have. Marty, tell them about the improv. I think it was improvised. What you guys did at the end of Creep Show.
Well, the whole trash can scene with Tom and I is ad libbed pretty much, including this the opening sequence where we do this little choreography with the garbage can lid, where Tom and I juggle a garbage can lid. You know, we made all that up. There were very few lines in the script for the trash man, but the whole you know, eat your food or chew your food before you swallow.
That was
all
you,
of
yeah.
that. Yeah, screaming at the garbage.
But George wanted to make
ad-lib.
George wanted to make sure we called attention to the part that was cut out of the comic.
Cut out.
That's all.
That was the only thing we really had to do, and then everything else was ad libbed pretty much. You know. So.
Yeah. Okay.
And George left it in because he knows quality dialogue when he sees it.
Yeah. No, exactly. But yeah, okay. So getting back to post-production. Okay, so Karen had never seen Dawn of the Dead, never seen Day of the Dead. She thought zombie movies were stupid. She told me we're doing something like Halloween and Scream. Turns out she'd actually never seen Scream. Anyway, after we had done 2 days of the helicopter day with all the posse and whatnot, at the end of the second day, she was crying, and I was like, "What's the matter?" And she said, "We can't use any of it." I said, "Why?" And she goes, "Because we shot it in the daytime." And I said, "So?" And she said, "Zombies can't walk in the daytime." And I was like, "Well, why? What do you mean they can't walk in the daytime?" You know, and I said, "You ever heard of Dawn of the Dead and Day of the Dead?" She goes, "It's called Night of the Living Dead, you retard." You know, and I said, "Well, Karen, at the beginning, Bill Heinzman plays the cemetery zombie, and
It's daytime.
Well, it's daytime." And she goes, "All right, well, I guess it's okay." Okay, so what happens in post-production is that the reason it has that blue tint to it and it's darkened in the beginning of the print that was actually released is because Karen wanted to make it nighttime. Okay, so that's why you have that weird blue tint and the darkened scenes in the thing that was actually, you know, released in the beginning. And then, you know, it's like a friend of mine was like saying she's getting her monsters mixed up. I was like, you know, boy, that posse better have silver bullets in their guns because they're werewolves, right? And then the other thing was when Abbott Hayes opens up the coffin, he bites somebody and then she comes back to life. I mean, isn't that vampires? I mean, I don't know. Anyway,
Michael Felcher. Oh my God, he's in heaven. He's in heaven.
Who is
in heaven? The one
Hi,
that
Michael.
we never say. Now Marty teaches film at University of Cincinnati, right?
Oh,
Marty.
does it?
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And I've
Yeah.
been around. I have a school. We never say the words "children of the living dead." We never say those words.
My students
He
have to
flunks-
refer to it. Yeah, my students have to refer to it as the film that shall not be named, or they immediately fail if they say children of the living.
So Michael Felcher, he's in heaven. We're doing this.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I don't understand. Who's Michael Felcher? I don't understand. What that
Michael Felcher, he does almost every supplemental material on DVDs. Sony is re-releasing my Night of the Living Dead September 23rd. It'll be uncensored, uncut. Everything is back in that was taken out. And like I wanted it to 45 years ago, was to be in black and white and eventually become color. Black and white as a homage to the first film, and then color introducing the new film. So Michael is doing the behind the scenes commentary on that one, and he's done them on so many releases.
Yeah.
Okay, that's great. Okay, no, it's interesting. That's great. Give him a big plug.
No, but he loves to make fun of my movie, The Ripper, where I played Jack the Ripper. Look, look. I want to do this and re-release it and do a full documentary with all of this.
I want to restore
All
this.
behind the scenes footage has been destroyed.
He says, I want to restore this and re-release it, do a full documentary on all this. I want to
Restore what?
Marty's being a Debbie Downer. He doesn't want to revisit the locations, and that's what I want to come up to Pittsburgh and revisit the locations and have my commentary and have Scott's son film it.
I was going to do that. I was going to be out at the farm and do that.
Let me pitch you guys on it. Here's the thing.
No,
Okay.
I think I flat out said no, didn't I? I said
No.
Yeah, okay, Marty, come on. Werner Herzog did Fitzcarraldo, and Les Blank did a documentary called Burden of Dreams. Fitzcarraldo was a great movie. Okay, and then Coppola does Apocalypse Now, and his wife Eleanor, she does Hearts of Darkness, right?
Hearts and Minds.
Hearts
Apocalypse Now.
and Minds,
What?
Hearts and Minds.
So you're saying that you think Children of the Living Dead is Apocalypse Now? Is that what you're saying?
Nobody's ever done a documentary about a production that was a horrendous nightmare and turned out to be a piece of shit.
Right? No, it's the documentary. Well, I mean, it's the
Tom and I
mockumentary.
apologize to people. We apologize to random strangers that are that come up to us at conventions with a DVD of Children of the Living Dead. We apologize to them. I give them $7, which is what they paid for the thing, and we just apologize for being.
When I'm at conventions on stage, if it is mentioned, I get down on my knees and apologize to the crowd.
We apologize.
I'll be looking for my $7 when I see you again.
I'm giving you 8 because.
I should also say this. This is the other thing about the post-production. And what happened was that after I left Pittsburgh, Karen took all the videos, and she went back to LA with all the film, and she re-edited the entire thing without me being there, and also without any script notes, because we didn't have a script supervisor. She didn't have the video notes from our video guy or anything, and she just basically put the thing together with another hack loser named Louis Schoenbrunn. I got to give him a big fat credit. Okay. I see you guys laughing. I didn't see that.
I've never seen the whole film. I stopped. I had to stop after 20 minutes.
Yeah, I can't, because I mean it is an editing. It's and knowing Karen took it back and did all that. That's it. Not well. Let's put it this way. It would still be bad, but it wouldn't be just the worthless as bad as it is.
What I tried to do, guys, is I tried to. By the way, I have done 3 features since then which actually turned out pretty well. One's on Amazon Prime right now, and it got decent reviews. I'm actually in pre-production on my next film. It's called The Last Bastard Standing, shooting in coastal North Carolina. I got to give myself a plug on that. I just got funding for it 3 months ago. Anyway.
What part of North Carolina?
It's actually kind of the Inner Banks, Washington.
Outer Banks.
Yeah, actually, yeah, it's the Outer Banks. Yeah, it's the Outer Banks.
The innermost of the Outer Banks.
Swan Quarter.
Yes, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I will say the best use of Children of the Living Dead that I've ever seen. I mentioned that my daughter Macy's in the audience here tonight, and she played young Lori in Children of the Living Dead. But she does improv in Washington, D.C., and she's part of an improv group that took bad horror movies. They took scenes from bad horror movies, and they would show them to the audience, and then the improv group would finish the movie or finish the scene.
That's
and
great.
It was hilarious. They took the cemetery scene from Children of the Living Dead, and they did a better job than we ever could have. It was brilliant, actually. It was great improv fodder. Hey, Matt, how many hours we got here tonight, buddy?
Hey, we're still good. You guys
Okay.
keep going. The fans, the folks in the chat, this is as lively as it's been for a show. There are people that have been waiting for this.
Wow.
Especially Mike Felcher.
Are they going to ask
Mike.
us questions?
They're commenting. They're eating it up. They want you guys to.
I would like to see if we can get people to ask questions.
Yeah,
Well,
need
I
some
know.
questions.
This is
I know
not giving
someone
me
asked-
faith in the future of the universe here. People are really in tune with this.
Well, I know someone asked earlier, Tor, do you have your original edit?
No, I do not. I do not have my original end. That's what I was going to say. That mine was trying to make it campy, kind of like the old Batman show. That's what I, attempted to do, both with, with music and whatnot. One thing that Karen did was in her re-edit, the bucket list one of those. Okay. Anyway, one thing that Karen did was that because I wasn't there, this was Joe Wolf tried to rip me off of my last paycheck. By the way,
Of course.
he tried once I read, and so I basically wound up begging him to pay me because I was broke because I wasn't being paid and so forth, and so. I went back into his office, to talk to him and stuff. And he did tell me, he said, look, Mort, don't ever take another movie that you don't have any control over. That's what he said to me. But anyway, I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought. You were asking about
You have your original cut.
Yeah. I wanted to do something,
I don't think you never were able to make an original cut of your stuff. So
no, what I did was I left Pittsburgh about 3 weeks after production, and I just said, okay, that's my cut. Do whatever you want to. And then Russo and Tom Dubinsky got together to do their thing to polish that. And then we turned it into Joe Wolf, and Joe loved it. He said, I think we got ourselves something here. I think we get, we might even go theatrical with this thing. I think we got something, And so anyway, it was not until the distribution companies looked at it. And I have to tell you, John Russo had brought up early in the process all these plot holes. And, there's this problem. And what happened was Karen went back. That was part of the whole post-production thing. She went back and added in all that dialogue to try to fill in the blanks. Like, let's have the two lead characters have a first date that's withdrawn from outtakes from another scene, which is the thing where the two people, and again, I know you guys haven't seen the movie, including Marty and Tom, who were actually in it, so you don't know what I'm talking about. But anyway,
I saw 12 minutes of it.
She would do things like, no, that's what happened. This is what I'm going to bring up. Louis Schoenbrom, this scumbag, and I don't mind calling him a scumbag. That's just my opinion. I could be wrong. But anyway, Joe asked him to come up with a reason not to pay me that last paycheck. And so this guy comes up with a reason for all he came up with all these mistakes that I made. And one of the flaws I had was that I cast a friend of mine, Jamie from New York. He said it's very highly suspect that he would cast a friend of his. And I was just like, really? I was like, how many movies has Diane Keaton been in with Woody Allen and Mia Farrow? But okay, whatever. All right, I'll give you that stuff. And then he had all these problems with like screen direction and continuity and so forth. And he created what are called opticals, where you have to create an inner positive of the negative and then flip it and create an inner positive of that and then another negative to flip it. And because he didn't know how to edit the thing together because nobody was there. It was just Karen and he sitting in some room somewhere. And anyway, and so, but ultimately, Joe did finally pay me the final, paycheck. And that was the last thing he said to me. He said, "Don't ever take another movie that you don't have any control over." But I'm going to say this again, guys. It was not about Russo. I could have withstood Russo. I could not have withstood Karen. All right. If it's not on the page, it's not on the stage. And, having dialogue like that. I mean, Laurence Olivier on his best day could not have made this stuff sound authentic. And I think at some point in time, everybody just stopped giving a shit because I think it starts at the top like that. If the people at the top don't give a fuck about it, I don't think anybody's gonna care about it. And I'll be honest with you, I reached a point where I was like that, where I was trying to direct this one actor. I'll tell you the scene. There's an empty coffin, and he says, "It says this here coffin was in this here lot and stuff," and he's supposed to be doing an impression of Greg, the superintendent. And so in the script is written, a few minutes later, Greg shows up, and the guy's nervous because he thought he heard him. And the actor says, "Well, I don't understand. It's just a few minutes later. Why am I nervous that he heard me?" So, and I said, "Okay, we'll say that instead of a few minutes later, he walks up right behind you and stuff." And then Karen comes in and says, "No, we can't do that." And because Greg works in the office, so just leave it the way it is. And the actor looked at me and he said, "I don't understand." And I said, "I don't either." And I got home that night and I just said, "My God, I've stopped giving a shit. I've seriously reached a point," and that gets us to the van scene. Okay, I had an idea for when the van, when Abbott Hayes walks out in front of the van. The first idea I had was he's going to wreck, and Abbott Hayes is going to circle around the thing, and we're going to be inside the van, only one survivor, and we can see shadows of it. It's a whole other thing. The next idea I had was okay, we got a pond, right? We'll do like something from Psycho, where the van winds up in the pond and it's sinking, but somebody rises up out of it and Karen said no and all those. And so I said, fuck it, we're just going to do a Roadrunner cartoon. And that's what happened. I mean, that's really where I reached a point where I said, I don't care anymore. We're just going to send that van off of that 200-foot cliff at that rock quarry that we were at. And I'm just going to do it just for fun, just because I want to watch the goddamn van fall off the cliff. And that's why I did it, because at that point in time, I mean, guys, I had a nervous breakdown. When I came back to LA, I literally had a nervous breakdown. Okay. I mean, I know I may not be a master filmmaker, but I know I'm better than this. And I know what I was in, and I got into a situation that I just did not know how to get out of.
Well, I was there for a total of 2 days, and you could feel just the tension going in every direction because she was just kind of walking around making stuff up. Like, I asked her at one point, I said, I was trying to pick up the mythology because I hadn't read the script. And, Tom said, come out and be a stunt zombie. Okay, so first day was the helicopter day. So I had to come out and be a stunt zombie again because that day didn't exist. And I'm just kind of like, I'm watching everyone sort of in awe of her ineptitude, and I'm kind of sidling up next to her. So why does Abbott Hayes have these big long fingernails? Like, is there a reason for that? Mm-hmm. I said, yeah, my dad produced Nightmare on Elm Street, so it's like an homage to Freddy Krueger. I said, oh, okay.
Okay.
What about Marty's birthmark there? What's that about? Zombie biting?
Oh, okay. It was a port wine stain. It was
a port wine it was a friend of mine, and had a friend of hers.
Yeah, a friend of hers had a port wine stain, and she wouldn't spend the $20 to get temporary tattoos. So she had somebody different. Tom talked about this a little earlier. She had someone different every day, pretty much, put the port wine stain on my face. So some days it looked like the Liberty Bell. Some days it looked like 3 cherries. Some days it looked like the state of West Virginia. There was a fraternity that actually has a drinking game that they would send me messages on Facebook that every time the port wine stain changes, they do a shot. So You know, they stay up all night. And they made my port wine stand.
They didn't get more than 12 minutes into it either.
Right.
They didn't either. Yeah. But there was a question that somebody asked: why so much of Tom's dialogue was ADR'd? What was that? Yeah, why was that?
Tom, explain that.
You're asking me. She did it to both of them.
Karen wanted it.
We both had to go in and do ADR.
Yeah, you already talked about that.
Even your original scene where you're rolling over the car and everything is ADR. You know, I mean, it just everything. She just wanted it her way, I think, was the answer.
She thought she was Shakespeare.
Wasn't there dialogue there originally? You two were bantering back and forth, and then it turned into you just shooting zombies by yourself, Tom? Or Marty went to look for the kids. We went off to look for the kids.
No, that was a different scene, I think.
Was it?
Somebody asked how old was Karen when we shot this movie.
I think
30. 30.
Early 40s, late 30s.
So this is 24 years ago.
So
she's a little bit older than me. So 24 years ago, I would have been what
you need a calculator?
Yeah. How do you know she's Scott?
What?
How do you know she's a little bit older than you?
Okay, is she a lot older than me?
I would think so. I mean, I think she was probably about 40, to be honest with you.
I don't think she's that old.
No,
She's still around?
I don't think she was that old.
Still around?
Oh, Karen, I don't know.
I don't know.
Her dad kicked the bucket.
Why paint the seats with rubber cement? Can't leave us hanging like that.
Okay,
rubber cement is extremely flammable.
Yeah.
It's what they paint on stunt guys who are set on fire. They're covered in rubber cement because
I think Gurgley said it like creates black smoke or something like that. I think seems like I remember that.
Well, the standard operating procedure to paint somebody with it so the fire stays and burns.
But
no, we're not, Paul. We are not going to need that, Paul.
Okay, getting back to Tom's ADR, that was like, and somebody said he looked kind of like Popeye. It was like that whole thing with him in the car. You know, he was like, it's like, what went into the decision of saying we're going to add dialogue where his mouth isn't moving? You know, kind of thing. It's like that's, you know, it's like. I don't know what you guys did at the ADR session. I wasn't invited to the ADR session. I was long gone by that.
It does. It ends up sounding like Popeye, just kind of walking along going.
No, it's just like.
And it sounds like you're having fun. Like, here's another one.
Oh, now here was the other thing that they did with the ADR. They did this with Scott. Karen comes up with this idea. Okay, Scott's an alcoholic. His character that he played in the diner.
The diner owner. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So his name was Dave. I think it was. Okay.
Yeah. Dave DeSissy or something like that.
Okay. Right. So she wants to build this character up, even though there was no dialogue. So she would cut to Jamie's coverage, and then you hear Scott's dialogue, and then she would cut back to Scott which should have been a reaction shot, and then you hear her dialogue. So you're cutting back and forth, where typically you don't, you would usually cut to somebody talking. In this case, you're cutting to the person's reaction and hearing the voiceover. Okay, I've never seen that done in a feature film before.
You never see them speaking.
Yeah. No, I mean, but guys. Honestly, yesterday I watched some of it online for the first time, and I'll be honest with you, it's not comical to me to this day. Watching this shit, it's painful. It is seriously painful. That it's painful from a couple of different perspectives. One being a filmmaker, and you're always trying to get funding for films and whatnot. The idea that a absolutely incompetent, uneducated, ignorant hack like Karen Wolf could convince her ailing dad to give her $600,000 fucking dollars to make an unadulterated piece of shit. It's just mind-boggling.
How do you really feel?
Tor, you're a little bitter. I think you're a little bitter, and let us. We need an intervention.
How about some questions from the fans?
Yeah. So
beyond that, hang on, guys. Beyond that, you pointed out that Joe was ailing. He got his daughter out of his immediate vicinity for a couple of months.
I think that was it. I think that was it. All right, here we go.
I know that was it because we were at dinner with Karen and and Chopper Dan on several occasions, and she would be talking about that.
Oh, well, Karen and her dad had a knockdown, drag out fight in a restaurant in Pittsburgh, and she wound up leaving him in the restaurant, and I had to take him back to the hotel. And a guy came up from the restaurant, another customer came up and said, "Thank you for ruining my evening." And she said, "Fuck you" to the guy and walked out. So, I mean, that was just typical Karen. Okay. All right, here's a question. Set safety has clearly changed over the decades. Do you feel the stricter guidelines in place for creativity and production has suffered more now than with less guidelines back then? I say no. What do you guys say?
No, I don't think so. You know,
I don't remember. You know, I mean, like I remember Savini. Of course, I had never done action stuff, not really, before I came on board this thing. And Savini was a big one. Like you never point a gun at somebody. That's why, you know, when you with this whole thing with Rust that came up and stuff, and they were trying to blame Alec Baldwin. I was just like, I was just like, no, you know, and I think Savini actually saw a couple of the scenes from Children and stuff. He was like, was that guy pointing a gun? It's actually pointing a gun. It's like, no, it doesn't. But that's one. Go ahead, Tom.
I shot David Letterman on the letter. I did 5 times on the Letterman show. I shot him 3 times in the chest, and he was worried about, isn't something going to come out of there? Oh, no, I'm going to aim over there. It's going to look like I'm shooting at you.
Yeah.
But the squib was going to go off no matter where I point the gun. You know?
Yeah. No, this again, this was Tom on teaching me on Children of the Living Dead. He's like, and I'll do my Tom impression. He's like, we see, Tor, film is a 2-dimensional medium, but you're working in a 3-dimensional atmosphere. So you see, the camera doesn't know that you're going that way. Okay, so you have to put the camera here if you're going to be, you know, or something. I don't know. I just remember him telling me that. It was very, very educational.
Well, and getting back to safety and creativity, Dawn of the Dead, we did everything we could to keep it safe. You know, and yet Tom flipped off a railing into a bunch of mattresses and boxes because we didn't have a budget for an airbag, and he ended up, you know, trashing his heels for 3 weeks. You know, but
you busted your finger.
I don't think just to answer the question, I don't think stricter guidelines and safety have hampered creativity at all. Actually,
no.
I agree. I agree completely.
I just think it's all about having you know, really cool choreography and
camera work. Good camera work.
Oh, and let me say, for low budget stuff, they're either going to follow the guidelines or not. Low budget movies are low budget movies. They're not necessarily adhering to whatever the standards are of the day.
So this guy wants to know what it was like working with Alan Haworth on the score.
Okay, let's talk about the score for just a second. Alan Haworth was nominated for the Academy Award for Star Trek: The Motion Picture. Okay, and that is further proof that when you hire a big shot guy and you're doing a favor, occasionally that big shot guy will do work for you as if he is doing a favor, which means he'll do a half-assed shitty job, which is what happened with Alan Haworth. I didn't work with the guy. I've never met the guy. I don't know the guy. I think he also did some of the sound post on it. What happened on the score was I brought in my guy, a brilliant composer, very young guy, hadn't done a whole lot. His name was Bill Benson. I brought him and I said, Bill, score 3 scenes and let's see what they say, because I want to bring him on board. So he scored 3 scenes and he brings it in there. And I thought it really made those scenes jump off the page. It was some of the scenes in the diner with Abbott Hayes doing the attack thing or whatever. And it was this really nice stuff. It's classically based, kind of thing. It's using a process called advanced orchestral synthesis to really make it sound like a total orchestral score. And Karen, of course, no, I want something like Halloween. We don't want that. You know, and so she dismisses it entirely and says she's not going to do that. Don't mince words. Yeah. And so anyway, so she disses that guy, and Joe calls in a favor with Alan Haworth, and he turns in something that sounds like it came off of a Casio keyboard. Okay, I don't give a damn how many Oscar nominations you have. The score really sucked ass, and it just really made it made what was already bad material look worse. You can really make. I mean, you can really do a lot with scoring. I think scoring is more important than cinematography, to be honest with you. I mean, because you can create an emotion with music, you can do all kinds of things. But anyway, anyone have good memories of working with Sam Nicotero? I did.
Sam's a great guy. Love Sam.
Sam was great. I love Sam.
Yeah, Sam. In fact, Sam was one of the few people that got along with Karen. She actually let him improvise a few lines. And Sam was good. Interesting story. His wife kicked him out of the house. Sometime during production, he wound up staying at the hotel that we were at. He was actually staying with Angelo Satirianis, our guy or whatever. So anyway. That was kind of interesting. No, Sam was good, easygoing, kind of guy. Okay. Alpha Romero. Who is Alpha Romero? I'm officially a Tor Ramsey fan. Well, good.
That's our friend Mike Lancaster.
Okay. Well, Mike, you're going to be kind of lonely. There, but
is that a small fan club, Tor?
Yeah. A little bit.
Hey, Tor, I've got a question. Can you talk about the day for night stuff, like when Marty's making the phone call to the construction guy at the end, and you can clearly tell it's daytime outside the window. What was the process there?
Okay, so hang on. So you're talking about day for Marty? Okay, Marty's not. Marty probably had to take a little break. You're talking about day for night when Marty's got. Okay, again, there was nothing intentionally done as day for night. Now, when you shoot day for night, you shoot it with intention. Typically, if you're going to shoot day for night, you're going to shoot it in a certain kind of light, which is a lot of times like blasting sunlight, because you can manipulate it more. There was never anything intended to be day for night. Anything that looked like it was day for night was because Karen decided it should be night. Marty, do you remember that? Tell Marty the thing you're talking about.
It's at the very end where the zombies are coming into the diner, and Marty, you make a phone call to the guy at the house who's standing in front of a window with sun shining in it, and there's just it's really it's not just day for night. There's like a little halo around the guy where it's they've just not even bothered to kind of.
I don't think I've ever watched it that far.
Yeah, it's towards the end.
Yeah, we didn't have a script supervisor on the film. I think it was just a continuity error, actually.
I want to say this about Bill Heinzman came up with an idea that I elaborated on that would have saved this entire film. And I'll tell you what it was. Bill, we were sitting there at dinner one night after the thing, and Bill came up with this idea. He said, I think that, and I can't believe he said this after all of his static about turning this into a Rambo action movie. He said, I think that in the diner scene at the end of it, we should have Savini's character come out of nowhere, all gray-haired, scraggly and stuff, and he comes in there and saves the day. And I took that idea and I said, what if it's more like High Plains Drifter? What if it's like Savini just comes out of the sunset, as the sun's rising when it comes out of there? And I came up with a series of the most kick-ass zombie killing gags in history. I hired a guy from the Savannah College of Art and Design to storyboard it, stuff like picking up a hubcap, like a skateboard, and decapitating a zombie. I had all kinds of just the most amazing zombie kills. And at the end of it, he was going to go in after killing all the zombies, destroying all of them. He was going to go in and can go up to Marty, his old buddy, Sheriff Randolph, pick him up on his shoulders and walk off into the sunset. And then the Matthew character was going to say, who are you? And he was going to look at Laurie and say, she knows. And then he was going to walk off into the sunset. And I swear, if I had done that, if I had been able to do that, and I actually, Tom, you may not remember this, but I pitched you on the idea and I convinced you to come back and do it for no extra money. And you said yes initially. And I talked to Vincent Guastini to do the same thing. And he said he would do it once I told him that. He said, you could totally save this movie by doing that. Nobody's going to care about anything except the beginning or the end and stuff. That was before I knew that they were going to massacre the beginning with what they did. Anyone have a positive memory from the film?
Yes. Yeah, when it ended.
Hey, look, I enjoy doing movies. Ava and I talk about this all the time. I didn't make a lot of money on the movies I did. I made enough, but I look at it as film school. So had I not, my life is littered with B and less grade movies through Heinzman, Russo, Chris McIntyre. So. But that's
Where's
my
Chris
film
these
school.
days? Is Chris McIntyre still around?
No, Chris died several years ago.
He's a nice guy.
Chris was a great guy.
In all honesty, the crew was great. Working with Tor and Tom and and Scott, working with everybody was great. I mean, it was a great experience behind the scenes. It just didn't translate on the screen, which is unfortunate. But it was just great. Working with everybody was really kind of fun. And there was, Jeannie Josephik was the makeup artist, and she was great. Jeannie was great. And there was a lot of people that were fun to work with. It was really, in all honesty, it was fun to do the movie. It just didn't translate onto the screen.
I honestly think. I mean, Karen was the large problem in it, and as far as that goes, as Tor knows better than the rest of us because he was involved after the fact, of the editing in the final product is not what we did in Pennsylvania.
Yeah, exactly.
And I will say this: the one positive thing for me was seeing how heavy I was. I lost 35 pounds immediately after Children of the Living Dead, so it probably saved my life. So.
Well, I want to say this much, that I did learn a lot about how to shoot action, and since then I've been wanting to learn to shoot action, and I credit Tom with that, and also Jerry Girdley. Tom was good about teaching me about just watching him do action choreography, that you have to motivate. If you're going to have a fight like the zombie grabbing him, you can't just say the zombie grabs him and throws him to the ground. And so he said, okay, we got to do this and we got to do this. And so understanding action choreography, just like you motivate an actor in a dramatic scene, you got to motivate action physically. How do they wind up on the ground?
That was my positive memory, was called being on the second day going out to be the stunt zombie and finally doing the stunts. Well, the first time I went out and got shot from the helicopters, it was just a zombie. But this time Tom was interacting with me. Yeah. And so he said, I'm going to swing on this rope and kick you into those bales of hay. And I said, okay, let's try.
I have to say that another thing that was not on one of a couple of our days off, Tom took me out on his boat on the Allegheny River, and I just discovered that whole atmosphere out there. The people go out on the weekends and they just sort of hang out on islands and drink a few beers. And we went out to the rope swing, and at one point, my given name is Thomas, and so he was calling me Mini-Me, and we went out and hit the rope swing and had a big time. And so that was some fun stuff. Anyway, Tom still won't forgive me for getting him involved with the money. I can see from the sour look on his face. That's okay. Okay. All right, but well, I'll make it up to you one day, Tom. I promise.
Tom, you're muted.
You're muted, Tom.
No, I can't hear you.
Turn your mic on.
You can't hear it.
Oh wait, there we go.
There you go.
Hey Scott, what's your cat's name?
Oh, this is Alice, because she's a British Shorthair, which is the same kind of cat that the Cheshire Cat in Alice in Wonderland is.
Oh, cool.
And she enjoys
thereby the name Alice, right?
Alice, yeah. So she likes hanging off of ledges and things like that.
Oh, good. We could have used her.
The question
to eat Alice and raise you and healthy.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she's healthy.
Well, that brings up another story about the cat, but hang on. So if everything that was shot ended up back in, could the film be recut and put in some kind of better version? Better, yes. Good, no. In my opinion, okay.
It could be camp. It could be really good camp. But that's it. It can't.
That's what I was going to say. Was that Bill was thinking in the right direction, saying, you know what? At some point, you have to realize this is going to be completely batshit, incoherent. So I may as well have fun with it. And then the zombies with skateboards and shit, that would have been great at the end. That would have redeemed.
Well, Woody Allen could make it better. He would redub the whole thing.
Or Macy's improv troupe. You get rid of the whole dialogue track and have Macy's improv troupe do new dialogue. That could make it better.
After inhaling helium.
Yeah, that's part of it. Yes, definitely.
Well, now you guys may not know this, but and I haven't mentioned this yet. When I heard it got picked up by Artisan Pictures, which had just done Blair Witch Project, it got picked up for distribution by Artisan. I contacted Artisan through a couple of different things to do a director's commentary, and they said yes. They wouldn't pay me for it, but they said I could do it, and I did it with two friends of mine who were big horror people, and we got a case of beer and got rather schnockered, and we
like Mystery Science Theater.
Yeah, no, that's exactly what it was. Except I was a director, and they were, and that's what we did, and they rejected it. They would not. They wouldn't use it. It did not wind up on the DVD. I don't understand.
So we come back in a year, get you all liquored up, and we'll just record a commentary.
You don't have to get me liquored up. I mean,
I do that for any.
I mean, you've been holding back all night, Tor. I think you should really, at some point, tell us how you feel.
No,
and I think the commentary would be a perfect way to do it.
I have not even broached the, anything about Karen Wolf. I mean, I'm just telling you right now, to this day, I wake up in the middle of the night with that shrill voice in my head right now. Abbott Hay, this is about Abbott Hay, and for all
she's the original Karen. What can you say?
I'm kicking in $100 for therapy for Tor. Tom, how much? We're gonna do a
I nearly
100. You match my 100.
Yeah.
I nearly get fired for letting Tom Savini monopolize the opening of the film, and then later on I get criticized because I didn't give him a big enough role. Okay.
But Karen contacted me about coming back. Now that might have been because of what you were saying. Joe Wolf said we should use him more or something.
Oh, really?
I turned her down. Yeah, I didn't want to. I was already killed. I mean, we could have cut the kill part and me coming back.
No, Tom. We were going to do the High Plains Super thing where you come out as the zombie slayer with no name, where you just come out the sunrise and stuff like that. I didn't know that. That's the first I heard of that. But
yeah, I would have done that. I would have done that.
Abbott Hayes rips your heart out. Is that what happens?
Yeah.
No.
How do you die?
Marty, didn't you
shoot him? I shoot him.
Oh, he's bitten. He's bitten.
He Abbott puts his hand through Tom's torso or something, and Tom falls back.
Right. You had some big appliance, I remember, didn't you? With a big
That's right. And then he falls down the rope.
Yeah.
And I shoot him.
Yeah.
I don't remember any of it.
I do remember. I remember Marty shooting him, but
I remember Marty shooting him.
No, that's what happened. Abbott does it, and then that was a Bill Hines, but no, or was that a Savini trick? That was pretty cool. How you put the 2x6 on the apple box and then went like that, so it looked like he was. Was that your trick that you came out with, Savini? I don't remember.
Yeah.
He did a full
board.
Yeah.
Well, there are two quick cuts that one was my fault, and the other one was, I think, just I don't know why they used that shot, but when Tom shoots me in the barn, the first take was the gun is very loud. It had blanks in it, and he was pointed it over there, but it was still, And so the second take, which they used, if you want, you can see me just about to go like this.
Really?
It cuts away very quickly. But then Tom, when he fires the gun in the shot leading to that, you can see the magazine fall out because it was the last blank in the gun.
Okay. Now that brings up a very good point, because I know that happened then and happened another time. I can tell you from watching the dailies that there was one shot where the magazine fell out, and then there was another shot, but we caught that, and then we said, okay, let's reshoot it again. Inexplicably, Mr. Louis Schoenbaum, dumbass Louis Schoenbaum, who tried to rip me off. Okay. He left the scene in with the magazine dropping out, but there was another shot where it wasn't in there, and we had caught that. Okay, and that happened, numerous times where there was a mistake, and we couldn't do that.
I think you probably washed your hands of it at that point.
Okay, Paul Brooks just brought up a good point. Was there any kind of a premiere for the film? Let me tell you about the American Film Market premiere at the Lowe's Theater in Santa Monica. Okay, so the American Film Market is a huge film market where they show all kinds of films and stuff. They shut down Santa Monica and just every kind of theater and stuff. So they show Children
they
of
showed this?
Yes, they showed it in the theater to play it for European markets and everybody else. It's like a shoe market. It really is. I mean, it's just like tons of people there just buying product, and everything like that. So they show it. Now, the guy, I don't know the name of the guy. He directed Hell Comes to Frogtown with Roddy Piper.
Was that Fred Olin Ray?
What's that again?
Fred Olin Ray?
Is that his name? I think it might be.
Fred. Let me look. Or
look up Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Or Jim Wynorski.
Had Roddy Piper in it. Yeah. And anyway, so he was sitting down in the front row. Now I wasn't there. This is what I heard. And after Savini dies, and the movie kind of kicks in, this guy starts laughing. And he starts laughing. And then the rest of the audience starts laughing at the movie. And suddenly it's like a sitcom that you're watching with constant laughter. Karen's sitting in the back. Karen stands up and throws this huge tantrum. Shut the fuck up! This is a serious fucking movie, and just start screaming at everybody to shut up. And people would stop for a while, and then the laughter, and then you hear people going, going nuts again and again. Okay, and that, so yeah, did it have a premiere? And had an auspicious premiere at the AFM, where it's like, it became one of the most notorious premieres in AFM history, and Karen had a lot to do with it. She should have emceed it. I mean, it was amazing. No, yeah, you've just got to wonder, how could
I'm upping my contribution to Tor's therapy to $200.
I'm withdrawing mine.
It's not enough.
No, you guys are saying it's the 24th anniversary. It's actually, this is the 25th anniversary, actually, since we made it. We shot it in summer of 2000. So
really, that's amazing.
We shot it in.
Well, I mean, we can go back and insert some footage from 25 years later and do what you want.
There's some BTS stuff I've seen on YouTube. For some stuff that was shot there. And for all that talk about Michael Myers, I mean, doing the Abbott Hayes dolls and whatnot. The front of the DVD, he was just barely in there. I mean, there were never any Abbott Hayes dolls or whatever, anything like that. That never got into it.
Here it is. It's too much reflection. Yeah.
Oh, he's kind of hidden down there, isn't he?
Yeah. And it's just like, it was all about Abbott Hayes, kind of thing.
What was the deal with the Abbott Hayes walk when he was walking across? What was? Do you remember that? Was it really?
You got me. I mean, I don't know.
He has some bizarre strut where he was kind of had almost like a bird like squat.
I remember he was a very odd guy. Barrett was just an actor, but he was so into the role, he was kind of being sort of, I don't know if he's weird all the time or if he's just being weird as.
Well, Barrett actually became a disappointment because he got pissed off because I was letting Savini take over things. And he at one point in time said, I'm calling Joe Wolf. I'm calling Joe Wolf. This is my movie and stuff. And then his manager called me about wanting to make sure they got royalties on the Abbott Hayes dolls. And no, I just had to tell Barrett. I said, "You wait your turn, pal." I said, "No, I did." I said, "Look," I said, I said, I know it's going to sell the damn movie. I said, and it ain't going to be Abbott Hayes, okay?" And and I was right, okay. This movie sold because of Tom Savini. And Tom, I know you regret hearing that, because. but you're the reason why it sold. I mean,
thank you. I sat with Michael Felsher, the guy who's been making those comments. I sat with him and we counted how many shitty movies I've made, and there were 29 of them. Then we counted how many good movies I've made, and there are 34. So I've made more good ones than bad ones. But Children, the movie that shall never be named, is the top of the fucking list.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Even worse than The Ripper.
Well, The Ripper's up there, but Children was worse.
Children knocked it out of first place.
Yeah.
What about you, Marty?
You can't have a good guy in a movie without a bad guy, so you can't do good movies without doing bad movies, right?
Yeah, out of my, it's really the only one that I'm embarrassed about. Out of 50 some credits. It's really the only one I'm embarrassed about. You know, there's one or two that get close. Party Animal gets close, but people love that movie too. It blows my mind. But but nothing like Children. It's
The Ripper was just re-released on VHS that lights up when you open the box. The artwork. Ask Michael Felcher. I was in Look. I was at a convention with Michael Felcher, and he spent the whole day walking around buying every copy he could to bring it to my table to sign. Just stuck with me.
I love you, Felcher.
I mean, you got to admit at a point. I mean, we're 25 years past it. Yeah, you don't like it. It's bad. But we're here sitting here 25 years later because people still talk about this thing. Like
It's fascinating.
There's something about it.
Like
Mostly in euphemism.
But Matt, it's like people still talk about the Hindenburg accident.
Right.
Yeah, but they're not saying podcasts about the Hindenburg disaster give them life, like Felcher just said. Like there's a totally different response.
I don't know.
We haven't
People are
done one
talking
yet.
about whatever the guys out in L.A. that killed their parents that were just they did the Netflix
Mendez brothers?
Mendez brothers, yeah.
Yeah.
The Ripper has provided me more joy. It should be legal.
Well,
What? Was The Ripper a shitty movie too? Is that what I'm?
Oh yeah.
yeah.
Marty, you need to send your money to Michael. I think maybe you need to send your mental health money to Michael.
Oh, baby.
Tom doesn't have that much money.
The Ripper was produced and directed by the son of an actress. Who was it?
Loretta Young.
Loretta Young's son. And they shot it. It was straight to video, which had very little selling value at the time. It was like, wow, you shot this at home. It looks like.
His name was something Lewis, and he went to prison as a child molester.
Oof.
After The Ripper.
But they re-released the movie, apparently.
Well, I don't. Michael will know more about that, but they did incredible artwork. It was a limited edition steel case, and it lit up. It had battery. It lit up when you opened it. Can you light it up if you open it?
It's sealed, unfortunately.
Okay.
It's an investment.
Yeah.
The Beanie Baby market fell out, and he went into the Ripper market.
Right.
You're not going to see any Ripper dolls anytime soon.
No, because Felcher bought them all.
But this is proof that you can still sell a movie in 2024, whenever this came out. So
Yeah.
You bought like pets.com stock back in 1999, didn't you?
We're having. Michael Felcher is monopolizing the comments.
He is.
I'd like to have more.
Fantastic.
Fine,
Keep it up, Michael.
He should be here. He should join. Give him the link.
No, I'd love
to
to.
say,
But listen, guys. I mean, am I wrong that I'm still getting worked up about this all these years later, and it's like I have a great passion for filmmaking, and you struggle and you try to get the resources and you can't get them. And I had the resources there in terms of the gear and the money, and if I had been allowed to actually direct, I could have had that. But
you took the hit for it.
I mean, how many times is that opportunity going to happen to a 32-year-old kid, in LA? And it's like, it's like, and I knew from Joe Wolf that we had built-in distribution. And so it's like, it's just like this wasted opportunity that, that all happened and stuff.
It's
I mean,
like Casino at the end, he says, yeah, we managed to fuck it all up. It's like, but it wasn't even you. It was Karen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
She took it too seriously. She took it like you could have fun with a goofy story like that. A king's
well, the thing that was crazy was that Karen said, I don't know if Savini said this to her. Somebody said it to her. They said, Karen, if Tor could rewrite your script and make it 10 times better, and you get the credit for it, why do you care if he? Hey,
there's Michael.
There he is.
Okay. Yeah. Anyway,
How did you do that? How did you do that?
Anyway, Okay, there he is, Michael Phelps.
Michael, don't speak. Don't speak. Just keep texting. Don't speak.
Michael Phelps. No, I tell you what I was thinking of was that line from the Farrelly Brothers movie from Dumb and Dumber, where they call the girl Felcher, which is a pornographic term. If you guys know what that is, it's very disgusting. But anyway, I don't know if you've ever had if that's your real name or whatever.
You run in different circles than the rest of us, Tor.
You guys ever heard of that? Felching is disgusting. I'm not going to say what it is.
Yeah.
But
If you've seen Clerks, you know the reference.
Yes, exactly.
Well, now I have to look it up.
Yeah, okay. So, Mr. Felcher, do you have any questions or any other?
The floor is
Unmute
yours.
yourself, Michael. You're muted.
He's frozen.
Yeah.
Touch your microphone. Down at
You
the
got to
bottom.
plug your
You're in
microphone
public.
in. It's his first day online, folks. Give him a minute.
It was on the wrong mic. Sorry about that.
There you go.
What questions do you have for us? What do you have for me?
I have a quick. I mean, just based on all the stories I've heard. First of all, Tor, I want to say I have an enormous amount of sympathy for you, and I'm sorry. I don't mean to. Please don't take any of my comments as making fun of your experiences and anything. I can only imagine the hell you went through on this.
Yeah.
And
Go ahead.
I appreciate your candid responses. My question is, do people ever bring this movie up to you outside of obviously this conversation, and what's been your interaction with fans about it?
Let me tell you my last interaction I remember with fans. I was doing a promotional video for an all-girls summer camp called Camp Allegheny in West Virginia. This was about 5 years ago, and there were two girls there, campers, 15 years old, and they said, we watch Children of the Living Dead every single year for Halloween. And I was like, really? And I happened to have a copy of it in my car, and I went and got a Sharpie and autographed it and gave it to them. Okay, so that's the closest I've gotten. Oh, now on Facebook, I've had some people ride me about it, and I've defriended them occasionally if they bring it up. Yeah, no,
when you could leave comments on IMDb, Tom and I had a running dialogue on there.
Yep.
That got lost when they stopped letting you comment on the movies. But
I didn't know they got lost. But
yeah, they're not there anymore, unfortunately.
But your classic response, Tor, has been preserved. We do have that, I sent it to you the other day. We've preserved that.
Yeah. I sent out that email, and I forget all the other details, that were on it and stuff. But no, I do remember when seeing Tom's notes on the script when he got it. Those were pretty hilarious. There were things like, "What the fuck." Try and film this shit, why don't you? They were hilarious. He was like, are you kidding me? And so just all of his notes in the original script that he had.
Michael, how come you haven't done a commentary on Children of the Living Dead?
You don't think it's not because I don't want to? Are you kidding me? I really am gonna pursue. I want to get this all done. I mean, this is such an interesting documentary right here, just talking about, everybody goes into this presumably with good intentions, and then, oh dear God, what happens?
Yeah. No, because I'm sure like Marty and Tom, these guys are professional actors, and it's like, hey, Joe Wolf, Nightmare on Elm Street and the Halloween series and so forth, and you just figure, okay, whatever. Although Tom did tell me in my first meeting with him and at lunch, he said, I wouldn't hire Bill Heinzman to do my kid's birthday party. And so, and I, as I said, I wanted a different DP. And then, of course, the big debacle happened. And then I got blamed for it and so on and so forth. But anyway, look, I'm all in favor of a documentary. Marty is Mr. Debbie Downer over there. He doesn't want to go to the locations. Okay.
Marty, I know how to get on. I will find you, Marty.
Yeah,
and I will make you do this.
Marty,
you will hunt me down.
Marty, what you got to tell us your favorite restaurant in Pittsburgh, Marty, and dinner and all that kind of stuff. I mean, come on. I mean, you gotta come on board. Go out. I want to go out to where that house was, and where that cemetery was, if it's still there. I think Scott found it on a map somewhere. And so, Tom was
there. Yes, you were. You were.
Tom was the Errol Flynn of Children of the Living Dead.
Swashbuckling zombie killer.
Yeah.
No, Tom was the, as I said, he was the. I told him in the beginning, I want to make you the John Wayne of zombie killers, and he was all.
I think I'd rather be the Charles Bronson of zombie killers.
Well, he came out. No, he came out there with all of his weapons and.
Oh no, I had the John Wayne Winchester.
Yes. Yeah.
The lever action, Winchester, and you could pop that thing just like John Wayne and.
Yeah, you were doing the flipper. We were doing the flip.
Yeah.
We were firing real bullets out there into empty space.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Now they wanted the sound. They wanted the sound of the real bullets being fired.
I tell you, one line that would have been hilarious, and of course it would have gotten cut out by Karen, but it would have been funny after you send the car down and you blow up the car. If you could have walked back over to Leia, sat down and looked at her and said, "I love the smell of zombie flesh burning in the morning." I think that would have been
better to sit down and say sorry about your car.
Yeah. No, it was because we had to blow up 2 cars, by the way, because because all the footage was killed on that one day. We had to find.
Yeah, we had to come up with new stuff.
Yeah. But so anyway, all right, Mr. Felcher. Is that your real name, Felcher or Felcher?
Felcher, yes, it's my real name.
Okay,
yes.
all right, okay.
Why would I have that as a name if I didn't have to?
Well, exactly. Okay. I'm just hey, man.
Who would claim to be that? Who is not?
Exactly. Yes.
Okay. What questions do you have about Children of the Living Dead? Like, for example, the blue tent at the beginning. Were you around for that?
Oh yeah, I saw all that. Yeah, so many questions have been answered so far, including questions I never even thought to ask. This has been, I mean, I knew Joe Wolf a little bit. I had met him back when I worked at Anchor Bay because he had Halloween and a couple other films licensed through us, and I never met Karen. But
Joe, John Carpenter never spoke to Joe again after Halloween. Neither did Irwin Yablans. Wes Craven never spoke to Joe again after Nightmare on Elm Street. Neither did Bob Shea. Here's Joe Wolf and Bob Shea. Now this is a funny story. I got this from a very reputable source. Here's what happened on Nightmare on Elm Street. Bob Shea, who you guys know, produced Lord of the Rings, right? Okay, and New Line Cinema. Okay, so here's what happened. Joe Wolf puts up $400,000, and it's a $1.7 million movie. And Bob Shea has just started New Line Cinema, and he goes around bankrupting himself to get Nightmare on Elm Street off the ground and to get that thing filmed. And and Joe Wolf is just sitting back in the shadows watching all this happening, keeping track of what's happening. And so finally, Bob Shea gets the money together. And at that point in time, Joe calls him and says, "You know what? I don't think I want to invest in your movie anymore. I don't want to do. I already did a horror movie." And so Bob Shea is sitting in the office of New Line and saying, "Well, Joe, come on, we got." And then he said, "The only way I would do it is if you would give me 100% of all North American video rights." Okay, and this was in 1983 and 84 when it's coming up. And Bob Shea broke down crying in the office of New Line Cinema and had no choice. And he gave him 100% of all North American video rights to Nightmare on Elm Street. And that's why he never did business with Joe Wolf again. But Joe was a nasty guy. I mean, he's got a nasty reputation, of pulling stuff like that and stuff,
But without Joe Wolf, we all wouldn't be here tonight. So
yeah. No. I did. You go back to the thing about anything positive happening and stuff. I did appreciate the friendship I had with Marty and with Tom, and with Tom coming by my hotel room and pat me on the back and saying, "Hey man, you're a great survivor," and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, and and Scott, and stuff, and then eventually, Bill. And so, that stuff kind of happened and stuff. But yeah, I did have a nervous breakdown when I went back to California, and I just said, everybody says, I just want to direct. I know everybody's dream is directing and stuff. And I realized after Children of the Living Dead that if this is what directing is all about, I don't want to be a part of it. I'm a writer. I'll be a writer. I'm a writer first, and I'm an editor secondly, and then I'm a director. I do enjoy working with actors. I trained and performed. Actually, 7 years after we did Children of the Living Dead, I trained and performed at Second City and loved it. I did improv. Marty, you're talking about improv. I did improv myself. I just wanted to understand the language of actors and understand how to motivate actors. And there was a great acting coach I had named David Rozowski. And that was just, kind of what I wanted to do. But to have this craft that I love so much just absolutely blasphemed. And, I don't know what the phrase is for it. It really took something out of me and stuff. So at this point, I'm just like, no, I won't take any directing job that comes across, my path. And in fact, with most of the scripts that I write, few of them do I really want to direct. But I do have a good one called The Last Bastard Standing that I'm going to direct. Okay.
Well, I will leave you on that note. I have an early flight tomorrow. I have to go to Ohio.
Oh, come on, Tom. It's just been 2 hours. Come on.
Hey, Tom, I missed doing our IFC Halloween things with you.
What IFC?
Remember we used to do those IFC things at your school out in the Menneson?
Oh, yeah. With Mike Ruggiero.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. All right, listen. I think
Thank you, Tom.
I gotta go.
Yeah.
Gotta go.
I think we should all go.
If
We gotta leave Felcher something for the documentary in the
Yeah. Don't tell all the stories.
we have to leave it for the 4K.
All right,
Oh
Tom, I appreciate you hanging in this time. And I think if Tom's leaving, we should all leave. I think we've done enough for tonight, guys. You guys have my email.
This was great, guys. It was
All right, check the Amazon sales. We're gonna see a spike in Children of the Living Dead.
Oh, God.
Sales.
They're gonna
Tom, be ready. You're gonna get more stuff to sign.
I'm so happy.
Five.
You.
Just wait for the steelbook.
Hey, guys, great to see everybody.
Thanks,
Bye, everybody.
I don't know how to
Bye.
hang up.
You're stuck here forever, Tom. You can't leave, Tom.
All right. Thanks, everybody. We'll
You
see you
got
next
it.
Bye.
time.
Yeah.
Bye.
Yeah.
Marty, Michael, stop.
All right.
Thank you.
You guys, this was great. Thank you so much.
Thanks, guys. It was really fun. Thanks for getting us all together.
Yeah,
Tor,
thanks,
good to see you.
Good, great seeing you, Marty. Hope to see you again.
All right, man. We'll see y'all.
Proof
Bye-bye now.
miracles do happen.
Coercion.
There you go.
If we could.